There's nothing worse than stubborn fat. This is the fat that sticks around no matter what you try to do. It's the belly fat, the love handles. It's called visceral fat. Burning stubborn fat goes against your body's survival instincts. So the key is to trick the body to ramp up the burning of that stored fat. That's what today's lesson is all about. I'm going to give you a 5-step protocol to burn stubborn fat in 7 days. Simply follow these 5 easy steps for the next 7 days, and in 7 days, you're gonna say bye, peace out to the belly fat and the stubborn fat. Let's start with the first step in your protocol. The first step is to go for a 30-minute walk first thing in the morning. Here's why. In the morning, you're gonna have lower levels in your glycogen stores. What does that mean? These are your sugar reserves. The key is to deplete these sugar reserves so your metabolism switches over to burning the stubborn fat. Naturally, overnight, you're in a fasted state unless you're waking up at 3 a.m. to go eat food. Hopefully you don't do that. So what happens is this, your body's gonna use these sugar reserves for fuel during sleep. And you store these calories in your muscle and liver cells. It's called the glycogen stores. So overnight, you have a depletion of these glycogen stores. Let's say it depletes about 70%. The goal is to finish it off so your body makes that metabolic switch to burning stored fat. The analogy is this, a bank safe versus your wallet. And credit goes to my colleague and friend, Dr. Jason Fung, for this analogy. Let's say you have your wallet. It's easy to pull out of your purse, out of your pocket. There's cash inside of that wallet. Think of the cash as your sugar reserves, your glycogen stores. The benefit of using your wallet versus a bank safe is that it's easy access, quick energy. You take out cash, put it back in. Same thing with your sugar reserves. You put calories into the sugar reserves, you burn those calories quickly. The drawback is that there's limited storage capacity in that wallet. There's only a certain amount of cash you could stuff into that wallet. There's only a certain amount of calories you could store in your glycogen stores. The average person stores about 2,000 calories in their liver and muscle cells in the form of these sugar reserves. The bank safe is like your body fat. Now, the drawback of using your bank safe versus your wallet is that it takes longer to get access to it. You have to drive to the bank, show documentation to the teller. Then you have access to your bank safe. The benefit is that there are pretty much unlimited reserves in that bank safe. You can store a lot of cash, and on your body, you can store a lot of fat and calories. The goal is to deplete the sugar reserves, the wallet, and then get access to the bank safe. And you could accomplish this by going for a 30-minute walk first thing in the morning. By doing so, you're gonna burn the rest of your sugar reserves and then get access to the fat stores. It's like putting your body fat, this stubborn fat, at the front of this metabolic bus to be burned for energy, versus if you had, let's say, breakfast and then went for the walk. If you did that instead, what's going to happen is you're putting those calories from the food at the front of this metabolic bus. Your metabolism has to burn that first, and then eventually go back to your body fat. By skipping that step and doing a 30-minute walk in a fasted state, you're going to burn fat first. You're going to ramp up the fat production. This is called fat oxidation. What happens is this switch occurs, and now you start mobilizing the stored stubborn fat for energy. That energy, the fatty acids in your body fat, are then shuttled to your liver. Your liver starts using it for fuel, and something really cool happens next, where your liver starts producing ketone bodies. Yeah, you heard of the keto diet? You don't necessarily have to eat a high-fat diet to get there, or even a low-carbohydrate diet to get there. You could just do this little routine to get there. When you start burning fat, the fatty acids are sent to your liver uses it for energy, and produces these ketone bodies. These ketone bodies are key to burning the stubborn fat, because when your body is in a state of ketosis, and that is what keto is, by the way, it's not a diet, it's a metabolic process, and it's not new, it's just nuanced. When you're in this state of ketosis, those ketones that are now floating around your bloodstream, one of them is called beta-hydroxybutyrate, they are signaling molecules, and they actually communicate with these little battery packs in your cells, the mitochondria, and it tells them to produce more of these battery packs, mitochondria. So 2 amazing things happen here. Number 1, you get more cellular energy. So you have more energy in the morning. The second thing, it raises your basal metabolic rate. That is your metabolism. It helps you burn more fat through the process of more energy production. So ketones are going to be really beneficial here to burn the stubborn belly fat, and one of the easiest ways to get there is a 30-minute casual walk. You could do it on a treadmill or do it outside, that's even better, in that fasted state first thing in the morning. Now you could add some intensity and variation to your walk to even get faster results here. What do I mean by that? Well, you could walk faster to get the heart rate up a little bit more. You'll get more benefits that way. You could also add variations by walking sideways, walking backwards, or even putting on weight, like a weighted vest, or holding something heavy like dumbbells and walking. If you add the variation and intensity, your body has to adapt to that even more, where you get more calorie burn, more ketone production, and at the end of this morning routine here, more fat loss of the stubborn fat. The second step in your protocol when you're finished with that walk is to get cold exposure. You could accomplish this by doing a cold shower, a cold bath, a plunge, jumping into a cold body of water like a lake if you have that near you. But the goal is to get into a body of water that's 59 degrees Fahrenheit or less, and you want to activate something called cold shock proteins. But here's why. Cold exposure is a potent tool for enhancing metabolic health and getting some good fat burn. This therapeutic approach involves exposing the body to cold temperatures through the methods I mentioned: ice baths, cold plunges, cryotherapy, or even cold showers. The primary benefit lies in the ability for your body to stimulate something called brown fat activation. Unlike white fat, which is the stubborn fat we're looking to burn here, which stores energy, brown fat burns calories by generating heat, therefore boosting your metabolism. This process is called thermogenesis, and it can lead to improved fat loss and better weight management. There are several studies that demonstrate this. One study found that people who have more brown fat versus white fat burn more calories. In this study, the author, Dr. Florian Kiefer, said, quote, "This data improves our understanding on how brown fat works in humans. We found that individuals with active brown fat burn more calories than those without." On top of that, cold exposure triggers a significant release of epinephrine, called adrenaline, and norepinephrine, called noradrenaline, in the body. These neurochemicals make us feel focused and alert. Cold causes their levels to remain elevated for quite some time, and their ongoing effects after the exposure is to increase your level of energy and focus throughout that morning, which helps you have a productive morning. And studies show increased norepinephrine levels induced by cold exposure have been linked to these various health benefits. Enhanced mood. Norepinephrine is involved in mood regulation, and its release can contribute to feelings of well-being and euphoria. Norepinephrine also stimulates brown fat activity, which can increase energy expenditure and help in fat loss management. Norepinephrine also helps with pain relief. It can have an analgesic effect by activating descending pain-inhibiting pathways. Cold therapy can also reduce inflammation, accelerate muscle recovery, and enhance overall immune function. Research shows that you want to accumulate 11 minutes total in these 7 days of cold exposure. This doesn't mean you're going to do an 11-minute cold plunge on day one. This means you're going to add it up each day throughout the 7 days in this protocol to equal 11 minutes total. So that could be 2 minutes, and then 1 minute, and then 3 minutes, but you want to equal 11 minutes total throughout the 7 days at 59 degrees Fahrenheit or less to get the benefits that I'm talking about here. And here's another reason why we're throwing this in the morning versus later in the day. A fascinating study discussed how our diurnal variation unfolds differently in men and women with cold exposure. In men, cold-induced thermogenesis is higher in the morning than in the evening. And for women, they don't experience any difference in the thermogenesis. However, for women, their lipid metabolism is more modulated in the morning. The study suggests that brown adipose tissue activity may be higher in the morning in both sexes, and I'll drop these studies down below for you. Personally, I use a plunge from 𝙁𝙐𝙏. You could check them out, and you could use the coupon code 𝙄𝙉𝙏 to get several $100s off your plunge over at 𝙁𝙁𝙏. Coupon code is 𝙄𝙉𝙏. I'll drop that down below. The third step in your protocol, when you're done with your cold exposure, hopefully this is about an hour and a half after you've woken up, is to have this fat-burning morning drink. And that's going to be coffee with MCT oil. First of all, here's why you want to wait 90 minutes after waking up to have the cup of coffee. Then I'll explain how the coffee works for fat loss and what type of coffee to get and the MCT oil. The reason why we want to wait an hour and a half, 90 minutes after waking up is because when you first wake up in the morning, your cortisol levels are going to be elevated naturally with the sunlight and your diurnal rhythm, your circadian rhythm. You're going to have higher levels of cortisol first thing in the morning. If you have your cup of coffee with caffeine first thing in the morning, that caffeine is pretty much rendered useless when you compare it to the powerful effects of cortisol. But something happens 90 minutes after you wake up, cortisol begins to taper down. And when you have your cup of coffee with caffeine, 90 minutes after waking up, you get a bigger bang for your buck. Coffee's most powerful polyphenol is called chlorogenic acid, CGA, and it tells your body's fat cells to burn their fatty acids for fuel. This is the same mechanism that statin drugs use to lower your cholesterol without the potential side effects. CGA also cuts cravings, suppresses appetite, and it activates your liver to produce more bile, which aids in detoxifying your cells. CGA also helps your liver process fats and glucose more efficiently by lowering your triglyceride levels and stabilizing blood sugars. The effect of this blood sugar balancing act decreases risk of metabolic syndrome and diabetes while inhibiting the growth of new fat cells. Working together with the caffeine in coffee, CGA helps to reduce belly fat by increasing the number of cells that are burned for energy. It even works while you're sleeping. A Norwegian study found that women who drank high CGA coffee dropped 3 times more weight than those who consumed lower CGA brews. So you want to make sure you get a coffee bean that is medium roast as opposed to a dark roast. Once the beans are roasted beyond medium, they've lost a whopping 75% of their fat-blasting polyphenols. You also want to make sure you get a coffee that is organic, grown in high altitudes with extreme temperatures, which actually increases the CGA content in that coffee. Coffee is notoriously loaded with contaminants like glyphosate and heavy metals and mold, so you want to make sure you get a clean source to make sure you're drinking something that's healthy and also getting you the effect of burning the stubborn fat. Personally, I drink Purity coffee. I've been drinking them since 2019. They're clean, grown in high altitudes, they're organic, they've tested for contaminants, and they have a medium roast. And if you go to ketocampcoffee.com, use the coupon code KETOCAMP, you'll get a nice discount off your coffee beans from Purity. But it's not just the coffee. You want to add a tablespoon of C8. C8 is called caprylic acid. It's a medium chain triglyceride. Medium chain triglycerides, particularly the one I'm mentioning here, caprylic acid, offers remarkable benefits for the metabolism and something called mitochondrial uncoupling. Mitochondrial uncoupling can be likened to a car engine running without engaging the gears. Normally, the engine, we'll call the mitochondria, burns fuel, glucose or fat, to produce power, ATP, efficiently. In mitochondrial uncoupling, the fuel is still burned, but the energy is released as heat instead of being converted into useful power. This process dissipates energy and can increase the metabolism, much like an idling car engine burns fuel without moving the car. This mechanism can help in regulating body weight and protects against metabolic diseases by increasing energy expenditure. Caprylic acid C8 MCT oil is a medium chain triglyceride, and it's rapidly absorbed and converted into ketones, providing a quick and efficient energy source. This process enhances metabolic rate and supports weight management. Additionally, caprylic acid promotes that mitochondrial uncoupling that we spoke about. This dual action of boosting metabolism and lowering inflammation makes it a powerful tool to have in the morning. And I'll drop studies down below on the benefits of C8. Just make sure your caprylic acid is organic and in a glass bottle, and I'll drop a link for the one I use in the notes down below. The next step in your protocol is to continue being in a fasted state until 12 p.m. This means you're not gonna have food yet until 12 p.m. You're gonna fast until lunchtime. This has numerous benefits, especially as it relates to fat loss and stubborn fat loss. The first thing that's going to happen here is you're going to get an increase in a process called autophagy. The Greeks referred to autophagy as eat thyself. Sounds pretty wicked, but it's actually super cool. Your body, your innate intelligence, this inner physician inside of your body is so sophisticated, it's so smart and intelligent that when you're not eating energy, you're not eating food energy, your innate intelligence, your metabolism needs to get energy from somewhere. So what does it do? It ramps up this process called autophagy, and that signals, let's look for cells that are inflamed, that are damaged, these battery packs, mitochondria that are not working properly. Let's use that for energy. Let's fix them up to get a better energy production. I want you to think of this process as a garage. Let's say you live in a house and you have a garage, and this garage has started to accumulate junk throughout the years. All this junk that you said you need to throw out, you need to organize and clean out this garage, but you just haven't had time, you've been working, you don't have time to do it. But let's say you get 2 weeks off of work. So now you have all this time on your hands and you start to go into the garage, throw out the junk, recycle all the bad stuff. You see things that are rotting, things that have collected dust, you get rid of it. Now you have this beautiful garage that is clean, that is functioning well, that's similar to what your cells are doing with autophagy. It's like your cells, each cell is like a garage with junk. And when you activate autophagy through fasting, you start to get rid of the junk. Cells that you have and mitochondria have expiration dates. They need to be thrown out and recycled. Autophagy achieves that. So yes, it's going to help with fat loss. It'll also help with regulating your immune system, preventing diseases like cancer, and just helping you function well and age gracefully. Another thing that happens during the fasted state here is you get a rise in human growth hormone. Human growth hormone is one of your most powerful fat-burning hormones. It's so powerful and is also very anti-aging that celebrities and athletes pay their doctors thousands of dollars every single month to get human growth hormone injected into them. That's a problem though, because there are side effects when you take human growth hormone, but when you allow your body to produce it naturally, you get all the benefits without any of the side effects. So human growth hormone will blast fat, will preserve muscle, will help you feel energized, and there's a huge increase every hour during that fast with human growth hormone. And then you also get more fat loss as you continue fasting here hour after hour, because your body is going to continue to lower insulin. And the more you lower insulin, the more you tap into that stored body fat, the stubborn fat we want to burn. Insulin is the only hormone in your body that signals fat storage. Always remember this: high levels of insulin, fat storage. Low levels of insulin, fat burning. With a fast, after the first few steps we spoke about here, your insulin levels are already low and you'll continue to lower it, allowing your metabolism to tap into that stubborn fat for energy. You also get gut repair taking place here. If you struggle with acid reflux, GERD, bloating, digestive issues, fasting is one of the best ways to fix leaky gut, to fix a broken gut, because it takes a lot of energy and a lot of bandwidth to digest food. Think about the last time you had a big meal. Maybe it was a special occasion or a holiday where you ate a whole bunch of food. Was your first thought, let's go get some work done, I am energized and focused? Of course not. Your first thought was, where's the couch? I'm going to become a couch potato. I feel so tired. You get into a food coma. That's because of all the energy, the blood flow, the bandwidth and resources it takes to digest food. And one of my favorite benefits of fasting is a process called energy diversion. I spoke about this in my brand new book coming out in 2025. This is a process where if you're not eating food, you're fasted, you're diverting energy towards healing. You start pulling fat from your liver, from your pancreas, from your love handles, from your stomach, and you divert that energy that would have been used for digestion, you divert it to healing the body and also the brain. And speaking of the brain, you see a ramp up in brain-derived neurotrophic factor during a fast. That's a mouthful. That's BDNF for short. All you need to know is this: BDNF is like miracle growth for your brain. The more BDNF you produce, the more creative you are, the more focused you are, the more productive you are, and the better you feel. And in a fasted state, we see a huge increase in BDNF. So during these few steps here in the morning, you're going to be more productive, you're going to have more energy, all while burning stubborn fat. Pretty cool. The fifth step in your protocol is right before you break the fast at lunchtime. You want to consume 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar about 20 to 30 minutes before that meal. Here's why. Apple cider vinegar contains acetic acid. Acetic acid is a short-chain fatty acid in apple cider vinegar. It's been shown to ramp up metabolism, curb cravings by up to 600 calories per day, and inhibit fat storage. It also aids in digestion because it stimulates the liver to produce bile to break down the fat in your meal. So many people struggle to break down fat and they have a sluggish liver, and by enhancing liver function with apple cider vinegar, you'll notice a big difference in your ability to break down food and burn fat from that food. Apple cider vinegar also helps with postprandial glucose. This is the amount of glucose that is produced in the body after you eat a meal. The higher your levels of glucose after eating, the more insulin is required to process that glucose into your cells, and the longer you're going to store fat. If we could blunt that response, less insulin is required, meaning you return to a fat-burning state much faster. Apple cider vinegar is one of the best ways to accomplish this. And there's even a study that showed taking apple cider vinegar before a meal helped with insulin sensitivity, this process of postprandial glucose, up to 34% with a high carb meal, which is pretty cool. I'll put that study down below. Just be mindful, there are different ways to consume apple cider vinegar. Allow me to unpack the worst versus the best. We have apple cider vinegar gummies. I'm not a fan of these. They barely have enough apple cider vinegar to get the benefits we're speaking about here, and they're typically loaded with sugar and preservatives, which actually cause you to gain weight. So I'd avoid the apple cider vinegar gummies. Then we have the apple cider vinegar liquid. There are brands that have organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. Make sure it's in a glass jar. You would mix that and dilute it with water. And if you do that, drink it through a straw so you're not messing up your teeth. And yeah, that could be a good option. Personally, I use apple cider vinegar capsules from a quality company that does it the right way. Paleo Valley has an apple cider vinegar complex. I simply take 3 capsules 20 to 30 minutes before a meal to get all the benefits we're speaking about here. The cool thing about their complex, it has some other superfoods that also help regulate that postprandial glucose as well. And we have an affiliate link and a coupon code for them, which I'll drop down below. Now let's get to the most common questions I get asked when I lecture on this topic. First question is this: I don't drink coffee. Can I have green tea or matcha green tea instead? Yes, you'll also get some benefits here. Green tea has a high amount of catechins, and it actually has been shown to increase fat burning and even belly fat. This one study showed that drinking green tea before exercise or even during exercise gets you this effect. It showed that consumption of green tea has been shown to increase fat oxidation and energy expenditure, particularly if combined with caffeine. Another study on PubMed showed these amazing results. It showed this: data were analyzed using per protocol samples of 240 subjects, which had a catechin group of 123 people and then the other group of 117 people. They noticed decreases in body weight, body mass index, body fat ratio, body fat mass, waist circumference, hip circumference, visceral fat area, and subcutaneous fat area were found to be greater in the catechin group than in the control group. They also noticed a decrease in blood pressure with the catechin group and better levels of cholesterol with those who drank the green tea. I'll put a link for my favorite green tea from Peak down below. The next question is, when I break my fast at lunchtime, what is the best meal to have for fat loss? This is where you want to focus on protein. You want to aim to get at least 40 grams of protein at this meal. Having 40 grams of protein at this meal is going to stimulate muscle protein synthesis. Muscle is a longevity organ, but it's also really beneficial in terms of fat loss. The more muscle mass you have, the more calories you burn, and you could stimulate this process by having 40 grams of protein at that meal. Ideally, it should come from animal protein, but if you're a vegan or vegetarian, you can get it from plant protein or even seafood. So what would be an example of that? That would be steak and eggs. Great meal to start your day with at lunchtime. It has the protein, it has the fat. The protein is going to help you feel satiated and full. It activates different hormones and chemicals to help you feel satiated and full, such as cholecystokinin, leptin, peptide YY. So you want to make that meal protein focused. If you choose to have carbs, have the carbohydrates towards the end of the meal, have the protein and fat first, which will slow digestion and help with that postprandial glucose response. Next question, can I do a strength training workout instead of walking? Absolutely. If you want to do a strength training workout instead of walking, go for it. And if you do this, even better. If you do your strength training and then add the walking after, you get a bigger bang for your buck. You don't have to worry about having the protein shake before the workout or after. As I mentioned, in that fast, you stimulate human growth hormone, which actually helps you build muscle and preserve lean muscle as well. The next question is, you mentioned the benefits of cold exposure for fat loss, but what about heat exposure like sauna therapy? This is also beneficial if you want to replace the cold exposure with heat exposure, or do both or mix it up. Heat therapy is super beneficial. It acts very similar to the cold exposure, but instead of activating cold shock proteins from a cold plunge, you activate heat shock proteins from a sauna. And this has a lot of benefits for the mitochondria. As I mentioned, the battery packs, it enhances the cellular function to increase basal metabolic rate via increasing your ATP energy production. So yeah, you could do a 30-minute sauna session. Personally, I use a infrared sauna from Sunlighten. I'll put a link and a coupon code for you to check them out. You can get $600 off your Sunlighten infrared sauna, but any sauna will do. Dry sauna, steam sauna, they're all great. 30-minute session each morning is terrific. The next question is, I heard intermittent fasting or skipping meals will slow your metabolism down. Is this true? This is a big myth. You will not slow your metabolism or wreck your metabolism if you skip breakfast. As I mentioned, your body's really smart. And when you're in a fasted state, as you lower insulin, what happens is you have these counter-regulatory hormones that all go up. I mentioned one of them, human growth hormone. You also have sympathetic tone being activated. You have adrenaline. You have cortisol. This is your body's way of protecting your metabolism, giving you energy because it thinks you are going through a famine. It doesn't know that you are intentionally skipping a meal to burn fat. It thinks you're going through a famine. Your cells and metabolism does not understand that you could walk to your kitchen, open up your fridge and eat food, or click a few buttons on your phone and have Uber Eats or DoorDash at your door in 30 minutes. It's automatically going into this process because your cells are hardwired for the old school. So with this increase in your counter-regulatory hormones, it actually increases your basal metabolic rate. And studies show this. A study that I referenced in a lot of videos out there shows that 4 consecutive days of fasting increases metabolic rate by 13%. So fasting or skipping a meal doesn't shut down your metabolism. It does the complete opposite and boosts the metabolism. As long as you're getting enough protein and high quality nutrition during your eating window, you're gonna be fine. The next question is, I heard that women should not practice intermittent fasting because it's too stressful for their hormones. Is this true? You know, I get this and I see this all the time on social media. It is true that women should practice fasting differently than men. That is 100% correct. But saying women should not fast because it's too stressful is like saying women should not exercise because it's too stressful. It's not the stress that is bad. Stress is actually vital for health, longevity, and fat loss as long as you adapt to the stress. If you do too much fasting or too much exercise, then yeah, it is a bad thing. But women, I've seen women practice fasting. They do it differently than men. So women out there, if you have a menstrual cycle, then the best time to practice this 7-day protocol here is going to be the first week of your period, not the week before your period. That's the worst time to do this protocol. Here's why. Every single week throughout your 28-day cycle, I'm talking to you menstruating women out there, you have different fluctuations in hormones. Some of the key hormones we look at are estrogen, progesterone, luteinizing hormone, and follicle stimulating hormone. The week before the period, these hormones need to be built up. And then you don't do that with fasting. You don't do that with stress. You do that by eating healthy carbs and eating your meals. But the week of your period, the bleed week, these hormones are low and they could remain low, and you could actually follow the 7-day protocol. So it's a simple little tip for you. Now, if you're a postmenopausal woman, you could do this protocol. Just make sure you're eating enough protein and calories during your eating window. This can be a little confusing and there's a lot of nuance here. I do have a program called the Keto Camp Academy, which is built out to teach men and women of different stages of their life how to do keto and fasting the right way. It is the ultimate fat loss program where I have everything built out for you, along with coaching from me and my coaches. And you can check that out over at ketocampacademy.com. I'll drop a link for it down below. Hey, if you loved today's lesson, you're gonna love a previous video that I recently published on how to lose 10 pounds in 7 days with an egg fast. Check out this clip and I'll see you in that video. This protocol is perfect for the following people. You've lost some weight, but you still have the last 10 pounds to go. It's also for the person who has an upcoming event, an event that you wanna look lean and you wanna drop 10 pounds in a week. This will do it for you. This is also for the person who has fallen off track with their diet and nutrition and wanna get back on track to kick